welcome back. I'm so happy you are joining me for day one of our 13 days of Halloween series. I'm so excited to get to share all of these projects with you. I love them and I hope you will as well. Before I get started with the project for today, I want to take a quick second to thank the Tech Hubby for providing me with another great intro for our series this year. You do so much for me to help out the channel and I greatly appreciate it. For today's project, we are going to be creating this hybrid mini album using the Masquerade collection. We've got beautiful trims from Really Reasonable Ribbon and Made by Me flowers to embellish our covers. So stick with me and we'll make this together. So my cover today is a bit of a hybrid and it's just a combination of several different elements from previous mini albums that we've created. I'm going to be using a combination of the 110-pound cardstock as well as 65-pound weight cardstock. I'll explain why when we get to that point, but for the cover itself on the very outside portion, it is the 110-pound cardstock. I've got my pieces cut to 6 inches tall, and that will be the height of our album. It will be 4 inches wide by 6 inches tall. For our first piece, this is going to be the left-hand side of the spine, and so I've got my piece cut here. You can see is 9 inches wide. I'm coming in and scoring that at 4 and then also at 5. So our left hand depth is going to be 1 inch. The next piece that we'll layer on top to create the trifold effect is going to be 8 3/4. So once again, I'll put my score line in at 4, and then the next one will be at 4 3/4. So that right hand side is going to be 3/4 of an inch of depth, and we'll just assemble these once we get our remaining pieces described here. So the inside portion will have a full page flip, and so I'm going to switch to my 65-pound weight cardstock. That is because I do want to be able to score this 1/4 of an inch and have it measured very well and a good crisp fold. So I find that difficult with the 110-pound cardstock to get a 1/4 of an inch correct. So here are the portions that will fold out once the trifold is open, and I've got each of these cut to be 6 inches and 8 1/4 inches wide. So I'm going to come in, put my score at 4 inches, and then my next one at 1/4, and that will give me my 1/4 of an inch on the inside, and I have 2 of those prepared already. So the final piece for the cover is just going to be this top fold section. Looks a bit like a greeting card, and I'm just going to cut my paper the full width of that 12-inch 110-pound cardstock, and it is only 4 inches wide. I'm going to score it at 6, so that's basically right in half, and this will be a top folding portion for the middle. So we're going to assemble that cover now. So I'm just going to use my double-sided adhesive tape to attach all of these pieces. If you feel like you would prefer to work with wet glue, definitely do that, but I like to use this double-sided adhesive tape. So I'm going to take my right hand portion and then layer it over top of the left hand portion, so that wider spine is going to be on the left, and this will completely overlap in the back. So now we've got a nice double thickness of that 110-pound cardstock, and that will be the back of the book. For the center portion, we have that top fold section, and since it's 4 inches again, that will be easy to line up. And now we're on to our third layer of that thick cardstock, and that will just be a portion that opens, and it's a full page flap. For each of the sides that we created with the 1/4 of an inch spine, I want my book to open from the left hand side and then from the right. So I'm going to line up my tape portion all the way to the outside corner here. It's very easy to get this all lined up because it's all 6x4, so that will be good and even all the way across. And now you can see we've got another portion that will open. One last one for this side as well. We're building in so much depth on these spines because we have a lot of paper layers to add. There's a lot of bulk and we need to make sure that we leave room for that. So here is the basic base, and we'll just show you how it looks all folded up. So what you're going to get is that beautiful thick 1-inch spine on the side, and then it will fold open, and then it's basically a trifold, and then each portion will open again. So you can see there will be a lot of room to add pictures and journaling and all the fun paper layers. So let's get on to decorating the book. I always think it's easier to add the back portion first before adding any dimensional layers or thickness on the inside, because you can move around the book more easily. So I'm just going to add my pattern paper here. I've got all of my layers matted with a black cardstock, and that will be consistent throughout. And I'm using the Masquerade collection from Authentique paper. Now, I've shown this in previous videos and we have a lot to cover, so I will leave a link in the description below if you want to check that out. But that is from Authentique paper and it's absolutely gorgeous. So what I'm going to do is add a portion of the pattern paper to each of the exposed spines as well. Not only does it give it a nice finished look, but it does add quite a lot of thickness and sturdiness to the cover. I put my pattern paper onto a layer of 110-pound cardstock for extra durability on the outside there, and I chose not to add the matting just because the strips were getting a little bit small and didn't look like they filled in the space correctly. But you can see how this is definitely going to help the outside of the book look very coordinated. So now when it's folded up, it will be nicely finished all the way around. For the first portion I want to cover is this right-hand page that you'll see before the full set of flips is done. And I put another of the patterns on this cardstock. I'm just going to attach that here, and I'm using my 1/8 of an inch borders all the way around. It helps to maneuver the book around a little bit while you're getting your layers lined up. So do that if you need to flip it around and get everything lined up correctly. So for this page, what I want to do is add a tuck spot, and I'm using one of the die cut pieces from the die cut sheet. It has so many very great images on there. I want to be able to tuck in a picture or a tag or a memento that might have some writing on the back, or some reason why you wouldn't want to permanently attach it. So I've only added the tape to the bottom, and that's going to line up with the pattern paper there. I'm gonna just go ahead and take advantage of the border on the bottom so that I don't have to add another layer for that. But now what we've got is a great place to tuck in like one of these journal cards that coordinates with the collection. This is really sweet how she has given it a decorative edge, so I feel like this is a great place to attach another picture or add some journaling or finish off the book with your personal style. So I'm going to include many of these journal cards just as they are because they're perfect. I want to add a little bit of extra detail to the top, and this is a portion of the die cut sheet again, and I just clipped off the amount that I wanted to show. Just a fun little decorative strip. It looks a little bit like washi tape, so that is a fun addition. Now this is going to be basically the first page you see when you flip it open. Let's go ahead and finish the inside here. So I'm gonna go ahead and add just my pattern paper with the cardstock border to the side. It's important not to fill every bit of space on your mini bases so that you do have room for larger pictures and your mementos. So make sure that you decorate it and it looks nice, but don't overdo it so that you don't leave room for all of the additional items that you want to include. Here is that journal card again from the cut apart sheet, and I'm just going to go ahead and add that to my tip in. I've got that folded there so that I can tuck this flap in between the layers and secure it sandwiched in between the book base. So I also finished the back with coordinating pattern paper, and I'm just going to attach this to the front, leaving all those nice borders again. Then I will secure it on to the other sheet of the pattern paper with the matting. I'll just fold that over and it will be sandwiched in between those layers. And I will add this on this side. So this will be the first section that opens on the trifold finished. So you're going to be able to open that and then open the tip in as well. So that is a lot of fun interactive pages. So I want to work on the outside portion of that left hand tip page, and I've got my cardstock matted again. I'm going to add a pocket to this page. So I've already scored my cardstock and added my adhesive so that I can just wrap those corners, and that will give me a nice secure pocket. I want to finish the outside of the pocket with this coordinating pattern paper, and I've just picked that directional stripe because it adds a little bit of extra detail to my pocket. I want to also decorate this pocket a little. I've got a circle die cut of the pattern paper layered over a doily. So I just attached that with my Tombow because there wasn't a lot of room on the back of the doily to add any tape. So I added that with my wet glue, and then I portioned out this adhesive on the back to only the bottom because it will stick up over the top and I don't want to inadvertently secure that pocket closed. So I'm just going to add this here mostly to the outside, and then I want to bring in a very sweet little glitter star, and that's going right here on the edge. Here's another image from that die cut sheet, and I popped that up with my Scrapbook adhesive foam spacer so it's not quite as bulky and dimensional, and I'm just putting that image here. Then I'll top it off with a sentiment once again from that die cut sheet, and this is going to finish the outside of the pocket. To fill the inside, I've already prepared just a piece of the thicker cardstock with the black border in another pattern from the collection. I've left the back plain so that some journaling can be added, and that will tuck right into that pocket there. And then an additional one of the journal cards because I think they're just sweet and it adds a lot of real estate to this mini. So here is my left hand flap page done. Let's attach that to the book now. And that is just going to go right here. This collection coordinates so well that you are going to have a great time mixing and matching all of these patterns because you really can't go wrong. They all just work so well together. So here is the outside page of our tip-in page, and then let's work on the center portion here. I'll just go ahead and add these inside parts. This is a really good diagonal stripe. So for the top portion, I'm going to bring in this polka dot pattern again. I've layered on a piece of that diagonal stripe cut with a scalloped edge banner shape. I'm just going to attach that right here. Got a pretty little die cut doily, and this is going to help break up that darkness of all of these pattern papers. I've also got a piece of the back of one of the journal cards, a faux wood grain. And that is just going right on top of that doily, and I've got a die cut from that sheet again. I'm going to add it here, but I'll just hold it in place so that I know where to attach another of these large glittery stars. And then I've got my image popped up with those scrapbook adhesive foam squares again. I picked those up from Really Reasonable Ribbon. I will link them in the description below as well, so you can check that out. That was also where I picked up the trims for this mini. Now I've got another sentiment here, and I'm gonna overlap the edge, so I did put foam on one side and then just the double-sided adhesive on the other so that it will lay flat. And then last but not least, I do have a slightly dimensional item that I'm going to add. It's just a flower from my flower making project. I used my time while we were camping to create all the flowers for the series. My tech hubby had to work one of the days, so I just went ahead and brought all of my flower supplies. I was able to make 150 flowers in a day, by the way, so I thought that was pretty good. And I'm just gonna top it with this little decorative edge button. Since this is a little heavier, I'm going to add that with hot glue. And then you see how I staggered those petals so I didn't cover any of the letters in the sentiment, and this button will go right in the center. Now I can add that to the center of the book. I have already prepared the pages for the right hand side because they're just the same as the left. So to make this a little bit faster, I went ahead and got those ready. So I'll add these. You can see now what I've done is to bring that polka dot all the way across the inside where you see all of the pages together for a consistent look. Then I've also used that plaid on the tags to help all these pages coordinate. So here is the inside, and I will finish the inside of the tip in. Now the inside is done. We can work on the cover. See how nice and thick that's gotten? Now is the time to bring in your trim if you're going to secure your cover with a ribbon closure, as I always like to. So I'm just putting this in between now and tacking it in place. I can sandwich these in between the layers so it would be held very securely. And that will give me plenty of ribbon to tie a nice large bow. So here's what I have prepared for the cover. Once again, I've got that pattern paper. I use the same for the back and the spine as well, so it will look nicely coordinated. And here is a dimensional layer. So here's that plaid, and I know that we are not supposed to have a favorite pattern, like we're not supposed to have a favorite child, but I just want to tell you that it is this one, and by a lot. This orange and black is amazing, and it's just the perfect scale for all of these mini albums and cards that I like to make. So I'm putting on a double layer of adhesive just for extra security. That's gonna go right in the center. I'm gonna add this to my book cover now before I put any more of the dimensional layers on top. This turns so that you can get it as square and even as possible. Here is the cover, and I did cut another doily for the cover. This one is from Fun Stamper's Journey, and why I liked it is because my other 4-inch doily is slightly larger than 4 inches, and I didn't want any of the fragile parts to come off of the side. So this will fit very nicely and have a lot showing around my focal image. There isn't really any room to add tape, so I'm just going to add a fair bit of glue to hold that down. My focal image came from one of the cut apart sheets, and I just went ahead and used a circle die, and then I cut a larger circle to be a border. This is also popped up on a spacer, so we're going to get more dimension out of this. Before I attach that, I do want to bring in this star, and I'm just going to hold this in place so that I know I have it positioned exactly right where I want it. And because I'm going over all of these lumpy paper layer from the doily, I will just go ahead and use that glue. Add my focal image. I've got my flower arrangement all set here as well. More of those flowers that I made while camping. I alternated the darker colors with the pointier leaves, and then the more rounded leaves are the lighter colors. I filled in this arrangement with loopy twine bows and glitter stars that match the larger stars there. I put an additional bow here at the bottom just to fill that in nicely, and that's going to go right here. It will disguise that cut portion on the journal card where the die was too large, so I do want to hide that underneath that leaf. And last but not least, I've got a couple of Halloween charms, just a little jack-o'-lantern and a bat. I'm going to attach these with my string, and then I'll cover the cut edge of the string with a vintage button. So that's all for our project today. We created this mini album with the Masquerade collection from Authentique paper. If you enjoyed this project on day 1 of our 13 days of Halloween series, don't forget to come back tomorrow for day 2. You can check the description below for links to this collection, as well as all of our social media sites. Make sure that you leave me a comment and give me a thumbs up. If you're not already, I would love for you to subscribe. And as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and I thank you so much for watching. Bye!